About it. Here for the conversation, U.S. Air Force veteran and Georgia Secretary of State candidate Kelvin King. He's also with us as retired Brigadier General Sean Harris. You may recognize his face. He was the Democratic nominee in this week's special election to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. We'll talk about that, too, in a moment. But, General, let me start with you. And the potential that you have the 71-person delegation from Iran and the Vice President, Kushner and Witkoff there. And the Iranian state media says now that the Iranians are giving some suggestions that maybe they will proceed, maybe not. You think there's a chance they get there to Islamabad, they're there now, and not talk?
Well, you know, the Iranians are experts in delay tactics. And the reality of it is, I don't think that's going to happen, but you never can tell with the Iranians. They may actually do something just to change things up. But, Victor, I would tell you, if that happens, I think President Trump will probably start dropping bombs on them again.
Yeah. You think it's possible?
I guess it's possible. Of course, anything's possible, but I think it behooves Iran to act accordingly. I mean, they put out a 10-point plan that I don't think was palatable to America. Yeah. So I don't know if they're serious yet, but we will find out soon.
What do you think is within reach today? I don't know that anybody expects a full peace plan to come out this afternoon, but what's within reach in Islamabad?
I would tell you, in my experience of living and working in Israel and being in the Middle East, today is nothing more than just the start of a conversation. If they can just have tea, if they can just say hi and be in the same room at the same time, that is a win for the United States, and that's a win for the world. So with this, nothing's going to get solved in 2 weeks. Yeah. That is. I think we both can agree on that. It's not going to happen in 2 weeks. This takes a long time. But if we can just get everybody in the same room, we can at least start the conversation.
And even that is historic. It would be the highest level talks between the U.S. and Iran in decades to have the Vice President and the Speaker of Parliament from Iran there together. Let me talk about one of the prerequisites that the Iranians set to even have these talks, and that's to end the IDF attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon. And those have not ended. Right. The president said that Netanyahu would have to be a little more low-key about that. Does the U.S. have the influence over Netanyahu to get him to pull back on that? Is that something he should continue to press, the president?
I would tell you, I'll speak first because my last assignment was Israel. And I know the prime minister, I know all the players. I would say that we should have the leverage. But right now, I'm not 100% sure that if President Trump gave him a call, they could have a conversation. But I'm not sure if that conversation is going to change anything because between Hezbollah, Israel, it's a lot of bad blood. A lot of things are going on every day. And I don't know how you do something low-key between Israel and Lebanon when it comes to the enemy up there. So I would just say we're going to see. I don't think things are going to stop anytime soon. And it's going to have great effect on what's going to happen at this peace talk today.
Well, Hezbollah, obviously a designated terror organization,
100%.
And we know that there are talks that are supposed to be happening next week between Israel and Lebanon in the U.S. Over a potential ceasefire deal between those two elements. But of course, they're not sitting down with Hezbollah. They're sitting down with the Lebanese government, which they don't think can control Hezbollah.
And Israel has every right to defend themselves. Yeah. You know, our conversations with Iran did not include Lebanon. And I think it shows. And when Iran is using these off situations as an excuse to not comply with our demands, I mean, it shows that they may be a little unserious. But in this case, Israel has every right to defend themselves against.
Of course, Iran says that the cessation of attacks in Lebanon was part of the initial deal of the ceasefire. The U.S. says, of course, and Israel says that they were not. Let me ask you about the Strait of Hormuz, because, of course, that has been the pinch point, if I'm using the term correctly, of this war, of the international economic stress of it. The president has vacillated between it's going to open naturally, to open the effing strait, you crazy bastards, to it'll just open on its own time, to a civilization will die tonight. Here's the latest from the president on Friday.
The strait will open up. If we just left, the strait's going to, otherwise they make no money. So the strait's going to open. But what we have is no nuclear weapons, but we'll open the strait anyway.
Does that undermine what the vice president is trying to do in Islamabad? If the president's back home saying, oh, it'll open on its own, well, then what's the pressure point for the Iranians?
I mean, we all know that economically and logistically, the Strait is really the linchpin, right? We need to have that. We need to control it, honestly, I think. But, I mean, the president is smart.
When you say we need to control it, you're saying the U.S. needs to control it?
It needs to be open. It needs to be a free flow of oil, containers, ships, and that sort of thing. And I think that we understand that. And I trust America a lot more than I trust Iran.
Sure, but when
to
you
conduct
say
that. So we need to make sure that that is non-negotiable in terms of free access through that strait, because that controls a lot of the oil throughout the world.
And when you say, go ahead, finish your point.
But there's a strategy behind it too, right? Right now, Iran is allowing their allies to move up and down the strait. But we want to make sure that if it's closed, it should be close to Russia, it should be close to China. But that's not the right move economically for global economics.
But what do you make of the president's point to Jonathan Karl of ABC News early in the week when he said, if Iran is charging tariffs or charging a toll, maybe it'll be a joint venture and we can essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, get in on the action for the United States?
Yeah, I mean, lots of things are being thrown against the wall. I don't think it behooves America, or it's even wise to take ideas or things that you're throwing against the wall and say that, oh, that's our strategy going forward. No, it's not. It's an idea, it's a thought. Several things are going to come up. Like the general mentioned earlier, we're not at a ceasefire. I mean, this is not the end of this interaction. We're in negotiation. This is a fluid situation, and I mean, you just can't take offsets as our strategy.
Well, I agree with my colleague, but I will also say this. Prior to this war of choice that we're actually in, everything was going through the Strait of Hormuz just fine. Matter of fact, Iran had never charged anybody. You freely went through it. Everywhere else around the world, you have to pay a toll. With that being said, because of this war of choice that we're in, we have actually put the world in a worse position and potentially put the United States in a worse position. And like we mentioned earlier, these talks that's actually happening in Pakistan is going to become very important, because I know for a fact that we're going to win this war militarily, but we can lose this war politically, because right now the administration, every day they talk, is a different goal, is a different idea, is a different strategy. So I'm not 100% sure when the vice president is in that room today, does he have the right piece of paper in front of him, or is President Trump going to say something different than what he actually has on the piece of paper?
Let me ask you this about domestic politics as we run out of time here. Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke this week. Of course, you were the Democratic nominee in the race to replace her, narrowed the gap dramatically. Here's what you said are the implications of your race.
I was never concerned about the 14th District of Georgia flipping blue, as some had said it could. I never thought that could happen. But I think Sean Harris really did put a major dent in the election there, and I think that gives graver concerns to statewide elections in 2026, such as the governor's race, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, and also the Senate seat that is up for election in 2026.
What do you say?
I would say, first of all, that's the first time Marjorie Taylor Greene has ever said my name. And I will also say this. We will flip this seat in November, because Democrats, Independents, and Republicans are voting for me. And because this seat now came into play, the Republicans got to spend a whole lot of money to keep me from winning it. And that's going to help other Democrats, not only here in Georgia, but throughout the United States.
And she mentioned your race for Secretary of State. Do you think that that's in jeopardy of going blue?
We're on the same ticket this year, so I look forward to winning this Secretary of State's race. But no, I don't think it's in jeopardy. And as much as I respect the general, I don't really see the 14th going blue either. It's a ruby red district. The Republican Party, especially if we can come to terms or end this engagement in Iran, if oil prices start to subside a little bit, we will have the momentum going into November.
We will see the economic impact and how long they last. Consumer confidence at a record low. in large part because of the inflationary elements caused by the war with Iran. Kelvin, General, thank you both.
Thank you.
All right.